Hello, everyone. Our guest today is Subha Pande. She is an independent translator working in multiple languages, namely Tamil, Hindi, English, Gujarati, and Marathi. She began her career as a pharmacy professor and then moved on to becoming a corporate trainer and later a spoken English examiner for Cambridge. And now she is a translator. She is also a translator in addition to all these things. She has to her credit translations of two of Kavita Kane's English classics, Sita's Sister and Fisher Queen's Dynasty, into Hindi. Her English translation of Kajal Oza Vaidya's Gujarati cult classic Krishnayan has been published by Amazon Westland recently. She has also translated legendary Tamil writer Shivi Shankari's collection of 5 timeless novellas into English, which have been published as ebooks. Welcome, Subhaji.
Thank you so much, Lalita ji. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Pleasure. I would like to start by asking you, what is a novella? I mentioned just now in your introduction.
Yeah, a novella, you can say, is a very long short story.
Okay.
So a novella, or it's a short novel, you can say, but normally it's like a long short story, which according to the American Writers Association is the length varies between 17,000 words to 45,000 words, which could be roughly maybe between 80 to 120 pages max. And the difference between a novel and a novella is that a novella has a single storyline, and it is about the personal and emotional journey of a single character. So there are not too many characters and multiple subplots which run in a novella, unlike a novel where you have so many parallel storylines, a lot of characters, and a very wide, landscape that you cover in a novel. A novella is short. This H.G. Wells's Animal Farm by George Orwell and lot of words by H.G. Wells are actually novellas. Genres, and novellas are very popular in Europe. What I have heard, they are very popular as a genre in Germany and in Europe. Shiva Shankari, the Tamil novelist who I have translated, she has written lots. I mean, I think she's written 48 novellas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they have come out as collections of 4 or 5 novellas. So there are 48 novellas of hers, apart from the novels and other things that she's written. So
that is really interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah. So these are books that you can finish in one sitting. एक दिन में या 2 दिन में पढ़ के खत्म कर सकते हैं. So they are like that. Yeah. Or in a train journey or a flight, you can finish.
Correct. So right. So it is good for those who don't like to indulge in a long story or plot.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to start by asking you, how come a pharmacy professor, arrive on the language scene?
Well, I was always exposed to languages from childhood because my father was in the railways, and after marriage also, being in the private industry, corporate sector, we moved a lot across India. So I was exposed to languages from childhood. Yes, I studied to be a pharmacy professor. I did my master's in pharmacy from MS University, Baroda, where we stay right now. And we went to Bangalore, and I started working there as a lecturer. I worked in the, as a prof for 10 years. But while I was working, my son, when he came to 10th standard, I thought I'll take a break. Uski chemistry padha दूं. So, focus on my studies. I took a short break. And during that break, I actually did a neuro-linguistic programming course, NLP course, a short course. And the master trainer felt that since I have been a professor and I have been handling students, I do not have any hesitation in talking to large crowds or addressing large crowds. So he said, why don't you try corporate training? Maybe you would do well. So he took me under his wings, and we slowly started doing corporate training. We started with college students, doing soft skills training for them, placement training for them. And later on, it expanded, and I started doing corporate training with him. And I got so involved with it and enjoyed it so much that I never went back to formal teaching again. And from there, I one of my friends, a common friend of mine and my husband Vikrant, he wanted Marathi play called Va Guru, which was a Marathi adaptation of Tuesdays with Maury.
Yes.
And so he had adapted it into a Marathi play, and he wanted it to be translated into Hindi. So he approached us and said, "आप कोशिश करके देखेंगे क्या?" So I said, "Okay, करके देखते हैं." So I did it in Hindi and gave it to him, and it actually got staged. This was in 2013, and it actually got staged in Delhi by a very well-known theatre group. And so, that was kind of a certificate कि मैं ये कर सकती हूँ. And I really enjoyed that journey because the book was very good, and we got to see the Marathi play also. And Dilip Prabhavalkar plays the terminally ill professor. So it was a beautiful play, and I really enjoyed that. And then one thing led to another, and so translation also started. So that's how I'm doing it right now.
So before I move on to asking you questions about your translation career, I would like to understand that you are a certified spoken English language examiner for Cambridge.
Yeah.
So please tell us more about it. Like, how does one become an examiner?
Okay. When I was working as a corporate trainer, one of my close friends who was a center head for a company called People English in Bangalore. So they were a certified examination center for all Cambridge exams. And so she said, well, why don't you try it? And why don't you come and be an examiner? So I said, okay, because I was already doing a lot of corporate training. So I said, "Theek hai, let's try it." So I was interviewed for it, and then we underwent training and live practice sessions, and then I became an examiner. Now, Cambridge has a lot of these exams from school level till university level, from lowest level of English, which is A1, to the highest level of English, that is C2. So these are called CFR scales, Central European Framework for Reference. So you have A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. So you have various levels of English proficiency. So they have different exams: business English certification, young learners, key English certificate. So they have both general English and business English exams. So how you become an examiner is one: either you need to have a proper undergraduate basic qualification in English, which I don't have, because I'm a pharmacy student. I have not done a BA or an MA in English. So because of that, I had to prove my proficiency in English, for which I had myself to take the Beck Higher exam to say that I am at a C1 or a highest level of English proficiency. So I took the Beck Higher certification. I had to prove that I could teach English. So I took the Teacher's Knowledge Test, which is the TKT, which is an international certification, which is accepted almost across the world, over 100 countries, where it is a certification which says that this person can handle a classroom and teach English to any level. And for that, you need to have a minimum B1 level of English proficiency. So I did a lot of these certifications, and you also need, if you do not have basic English qualification, you need to show around 1,000+ hours of English teaching and training. So since I was doing corporate training, most of the time when you're teaching communication, you have to teach English also, because students who come, they hesitate to communicate because they don't know English. उनको हिंदी मराठी तमिल में बोलिए इतना अच्छा बात करते हैं.
True.
The moment you say English में बोलिए तो अटकते हैं because they're not fluent. So you do end up teaching English, and that's how I was able to become an examiner. So I've been doing this since 2012. Every year we have to undergo retraining and coordination and keep our Cambridge licenses active. So
So that is for your updating and upgrading your knowledge.
Yeah, if you want, if any one of the listeners are interested, they can go to cambridgeenglish.org and get all the details regarding becoming an examiner. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Thank you for that. So when you were doing corporate training, I'm sure they all must be non-natives, right?
Yeah, there were very few, native speakers of English. Most of them were from vernacular medium, people who joined software companies. And a lot of times I was handling entry-level engineers For example, like companies like Accenture and HCL and HP. So they were all people who came from vernacular medium. They had never studied English till 10th or 12th. They started learning, reading and writing in English only after they came to college. So naturally, they have a hesitation to speak. They are able to write reasonably well, but they are not able to speak at all, and hence they have a little complex, and they don't want to come and make a presentation, and thoda sa hichkichate hain. So so that is where my training as a communication trainer was really helpful. And it was a challenge also, definitely.
Yes, it must have been a challenge.
Yes, it was.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And what do you think are the difficulties faced by teachers and students alike with respect to English teaching? Like you mentioned that because of the communication problem, the language problem.
Yeah, one is because like us, we have gone to English medium schools, right? So we are now so fluent in English that we can actually think in that language.
Yes.
Right. So we do not have to search for vocabulary, and we and the kind of background we come from, we have a lot of access to English content, be it TV or even speaking with our colleagues. Our children at home speak a lot of English. We watch a lot of English movies and content, but that's not the case with people who come from vernacular medium. Since childhood, they have had no such exposure, and suddenly you push them into an environment where everything is in English. It does become difficult for them, and that is where we come in. So we have to start with. We don't normally go teaching them what is a noun and pronoun, and from there, but we teach them more of functional English. Practically, society mein whatever you need to communicate, get things done. What are the things that you need to know? So it's more focus on functional English. Finding your way, sending an email, asking for an inquiry, writing a complaint. A lot of business communication is what we focus on, and the vocabulary that is needed in the workplace. And we make them speak in front of people, express themselves, give them free speech exercises, so that they come out of that hesitation to speak. And tell them that after all, English is only a language. It has got nothing to do with you as a personality, or is it a mark of your intelligence or IQ. It is just a language. And if you feel, your lack of English experience, fluency is coming in the way of your career, it's good that you learn it. And the earlier you do it, the better. So this is how we take them through. And I use a lot of Indian languages in the classroom. मैं हिंदी भी use करती हूँ. I tell them हिंदी में ऐसे बोलते हैं तो अंग्रेजी में ये आता है. Because the structures are different. So to bring out the differences, I do use a lot of Indian languages also in the classroom.
Great. So a multilingual approach.
It does help. It does help.
Great. And your mother tongue is Tamil, am I right?
Yes.
So how did you learn other Indian languages? Did you take any formal training? Or
no.
How did it happen?
No formal training as such, but yes, Tamil I was born with, so I picked up speaking at home. I never have lived in Tamil Nadu or studied Tamil as a subject. Unlike English and Hindi and Sanskrit, which we learned in school, I have never learned Tamil as a language. But my grandmother, who would come to Bihar, where we were all my childhood, I spent in Bihar. So, so my grandmother would visit as my father's mother, and she taught me actually how to, read Tamil. So I used to read little jokes, this, that, thoda karke. Then I started, I progressed to short stories, and then I started reading novels also. I wouldn't say my Tamil vocabulary is still very good, but yes, I can. Handle contemporary works, but if you say historical fiction and the typical old kind of pure form of Tamil, I'm not comfortable with. So modern stories, घर में बोलचाल की भाषा, I can handle in Tamil. Marathi I picked up because I married a Maharashtrian. So it's 30 years now. So a lot of, so I got exposed to Marathi literature, plays, books through my husband and his family. So we even in Baroda, we watch a lot of Marathi plays. We do go for Gujarati plays. So Gujarati and Marathi I have learned in being in Baroda and being associated with the Marathi family for so long. So I have not had any formal education in any of these languages, but I think there is a natural flair for languages. And I think while translation, you need to be very good at the target language in which you're translating. So whether it is, and Hindi and English are two languages in which I can think. So
Yes.
yeah, I actually normally I think in Hindi I have my personal conversations with myself in Hindi and not in English and not in Tamil also. So that is how comfortable I am in Hindi. So these are the things that have helped me exposure to different states, different cultures, reading movies. So that has been really helpful, but no formal training
Education
in
as such.
translation as such or in languages as well.
That is really commendable.
Yes.
You really have a flair for languages then. So
Yeah.
that is why I think it was a smooth
Yes, I do. And
transition to other
yes,
languages
it was.
also.
Yes, it was. And I just take it as a blessing. I was at the right
Well,
place at the right time, and and picked up all the languages in wherever we have stayed. When we were in Bangalore, I picked up Kannada.
uh,
Yeah, with my friends in school, I picked up Bengali, so I can watch a Bengali play also today. Aram se I can watch a Bengali play without subtitles. So,
oh, very good.
so that interest is there, and that open-mindedness has really been helpful in this journey.
That is great.
Yes.
So when did you decide to become a translator then?
Well, I never decided to be one. It just happened. Like I said, I did the Hindi translation of the play, and then
Right.
I really got confidence that I could do it. And the first book which came to me was Sita's Sister. So we were, Kavita Kane and I were part of a common group. And when it got published, I just sent her a mail saying, can I try translating it in Hindi? He said, why not? And I did a few sample chapters, and sent it to a few publishers, and Rupa picked it up. Rupa Publications picked it up, and it got published. Yeah, though it came out very late, but that was the first book I did. Then came Matsya Gandha, since I had done Sita's Sister already. Then I got Fisher Queen's Dynasty, which came out last year, and that was published by Eka Westland. So, but it came out only as an ebook because of Corona and everything. Unhone physical copy nahi chapi. So they came out with the Kindle version. So that came out last year. So yeah. And I do a lot of translation work for, Storytel, which is an audio company. So unke liye maine Marathi, I have done a lot of English to Hindi and Marathi to Hindi translations for them. So I never planned to be a translator, but one thing has just led to another, and now it's become my full-time vocation.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is really amazing.
It was really helpful during the Corona since last year, because we couldn't travel, exams are not happening. So Cambridge exams didn't happen, corporate training is not happening because companies are all shut. And as it is, there is such a financial crunch that nobody's investing in training as well. So translation really helped, and I could use my, the lockdown period really productively, and do 5 of Shiva Shankari's novellas last year.
Oh,
very productive year for me.
Very productive, true. But it is amazing to know that you haven't taken formal training to learn languages and to become a translator as well.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So while translating, do you face any problems while searching for the correct word, or sometimes the sentence doesn't match?
Yeah, because the structure of Indian languages and English is very, very different. And though English can be very compact, because you have a lot of freedom in terms of converting an adjective into an adverb. He spoke beautifully, but Hindi में उसको 3 words में नहीं लिख सकते. वो बहुत सुंदर तरीके से बोला, So English does have its benefits, because it is a very compact kind of language, and the vocabulary is there. But when it comes to Indian languages, there are a lot of very Indian culture-oriented contexts which are not translatable in English very easily. कई words होते हैं, they just cannot be translated. जैसे मैं भगवान के दर्शन करने गया, दर्शन के लिए I don't see, you're not seeing God, you're not watching God. There is no word which can express darshan. So आप यही कह सकते हो कि I got a sight of the Lord. That also falls short, of darshan actually, because darshan has a feeling of bhakti in it, devotion in it. जो sight or seeing or watching में नहीं आता. I watch a movie, I watch God. It doesn't. It's not. It's a step higher. So such things do come, such words come, especially, and since 3 of my books have been, mythology associated, there was a lot of challenge, words like Purna Purushottam. Like yesterday, I was translating and I found this word Jivatma. Jivatma and Paramatma. And Jivatma is, Atma is soul. Jivatma ke liye kya likhu? So there's nothing in English. So I had to write individual soul. That is the supreme soul or Paramatma, and this is the universal soul and individual soul. So there are a lot of challenges which come, and some words we just have to leave them like that. Even like relationships. In English, you have everything is aunt, sabhi uncle hai, sabhi aunt hai, mama, chacha, atya, this, that. We don't have these other maternal grandfather. So you can't say my maternal grandfather. You just say nana, nani, dada, dadi.
Right.
These things also are a challenge, because when I'm reading in English, they will say, let's say, Sita's uncle. अब वो चाचा है कि मामा है, I have to go to the Google and find out कि भैया ये कौन है. Because I'm translating into Hindi. So मुझे ढूंढना पड़ता है कि वो मामा जी थे या चाचा जी थे कि बुआ के husband थे कौन. So these kind of challenges happen. Sometimes even technical terms are an issue. Like Tamil mein, like they will, if it's a very old story, based in the 1930s, the measurements, she will say instead of miles or square yards, square feet, it will be yards in Tamil. Ab kitna hai, kya hai? So you have to find out what is the closest, comparative word today. So there are challenges which we face. And this difference in structure of languages also affects our writing. Again, in English, if you're translating from English, in English, that there is a word called register, which is the formality, degree of formality of language is called register. So either you have an informal or casual register, either formal, informal, and somewhere semi-formal. So these are three registers that you have in English. So we need to identify some language, English language is very, very formal, and sometimes it is very, very casual. So the same thing needs to be translated into English also, into Hindi or, into Hindi. I do only into Hindi. So that has to come, So these are challenges which we face when doing from English. Similarly, like when I'm doing Matsya Gandha or Sita Sister, अब मुझे language use करना होगा जो रामायण के time बोला गया हो. So I have to take care that I don't use too many Urdu words or Hindustani words. कि उसको बहुत जरूरी था उसके लिए जाना. I have to say उसके लिए बहुत आवश्यक था. So zaruri comes from Urdu, which didn't exist then.
Right.
There's nothing wrong. The meaning doesn't get compromised, but it is not appropriate. So
this is a very important point, right?
Yeah, so you need to use appropriate vocabulary. I can't use too many of Urdu-based Hindi when I'm writing in the times of Ramayana or Mahabharata. So उस समय के language को मन में रखे without making it too cliched and too tough to understand. Keep the vocabulary simple, but it is appropriate to the time.
हाँ, वो भी ध्यान में रखना चाहिए.
So that is always a challenge.
Correct.
बिल्कुल. And also the length बढ़ जाता है. जब आप इंग्लिश में कर रहे होते हैं और हिंदी में करते हैं तो 1 to 1.5 times बढ़ जाता है. हिंदी में शब्द ज्यादा लगते हैं compared to English. So when you're doing the other way around, the novel gets shorter in English.
Okay.
Compared to when you're doing the other way around. So these things also play a part while you're translating. So all these things, you learn as you do it on the, you learn on the job.
Correct. Yes. Rightly said so. Yeah. So there are dictionaries and all, they are available online for you.
Yeah. I use Shabdkosh a lot. And I have the Hindi version of Thesaurus. It's in 2 volumes. I have it somewhere here. Yeah, it's called Hindi Thesaurus. It's 2 volumes. And that is amazing. It is very, very useful. And I refer to that a lot. But online dictionaries I'm always using. I also keep the English Thesaurus open all the time. So that I find the best word possible. Best synonym. So if I say in Hindi, see something in Hindi, I think of some word. I also look at the thesaurus and see which of these fits the best. So these are things which are helpful, but I never use Google Translator. Ever.
Okay.
Because I find it that it does literal translation, word by word translation, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. So I don't use Google Translator. I, of course, use online dictionaries and the physical Hindi or Marathi dictionaries.
The book, the standard one.
Yeah. Yes.
And what is your thought process when you are selecting a book? For example, you are offered 2-3 books. So how do you decide that, okay, I want to do this, I don't want to do this?
Yeah, I'm not averse to any kind of genre, but if you ask me what is your preference, I say because I've done a lot of mythology, I prefer Indian mythology, Indian stories, which are rooted in Indian culture. So those are the signs. Because I have come from a pharma background, I like books which have a scientific background. For example, I have translated Girish Kure's Yuddha Jivanche, which is about biological warfare. So that will get published next year. I've already submitted the manuscript. So I like books with scientific backgrounds. I like books which are motivating, self-help kind of books. So these are the genres I like to do, but I'm not averse to any genre. Unless it is, of course, indecent or something like that. But otherwise, I'm not averse to anything, but these are my preferred genres. And I think also, depending on our backgrounds and everything, I should be able to relate to the story. That is very important. The background, the story has to be relatable to me. I can relate to a rural story based in Bihar, but not in Tamil Nadu, because I'm not exposed to that culture at all.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, so I need to pick up something which I'm comfortable with. So depending on where I've been and my experiences in life, so some genres are, though I would get tempted to do it, but I don't touch them because I know I won't be able to do a good job because I cannot relate to it at all. Ab Marathi koi keh de ki bilkul rural background se kar lo. My husband can do it, but I can't, because he has that background. I do. He can't do something which is based in Tamil Nadu. Similarly, so because you can't visualize that setting at all.
Exactly.
Because we need to be able to imagine, think of it in our heads and relate to it. So,
in order to transfer the content.
Right? Yes, it has to be relatable, and I need to be comfortable.
Exactly.
Things are
the main point. Yes. And how was your experience of translating stories for, audio stories for Storytel?
The translation process is almost the same. It is not different, but when it comes to audio, the only thing I find different is that when we are translating for audio books, we need to keep the sentences short. You can't have you can read a sentence which goes on and on, but not listen, because you get lost, you lose the thread because the attention span is short. So we need to keep our sentences relatively shorter while we are doing audiobooks. But otherwise, the rest of the process remains the same.
It is the same.
Yes. And the advantage of audiobooks is you get a wide variety of books that you can, which come to you. Like I got a short story based on Katha Paintanichi, how the Paintani has sari developed. Is type की stories आती हैं. So there's a lot of interesting content that you get to. Short stories hai, something on history and myth, science fiction or children's stories. So you get huge variety to do. So like one of my children's series called The Adventures of Anna. So it was called Phas Gayi Kinu. It was a 10-part story about a little naughty girl who loves science and her father is an inventor. So कुछ machine बनाते हैं और ये उसके साथ फंस जाती है. Now she gets into trouble with them. So you get very interesting content when you're working for when you're doing audiobooks.
Correct. It's a mixture, I think, of all genres.
Yeah, actually I'm working on a 54-part audio series right now for Storytel, which is on it starts from the beginning of time, creation कैसे हुआ, और तब से लेके महाभारत की story है. I'm doing it from Marathi to English.
Interesting.
That is for Storytel.
And you also you're engaged as a freelance translator with Reads.
Reads. Actually, Reads is actually based out of Dubai. And I was contacted by one of the founders of Reads on LinkedIn. So she saw my profile and she contacted me on LinkedIn. Basically, what Read, they're going to launch in India on September 1st. So they are a company. Reads is a company which publishes audio content of summaries of books. For example, in different languages. They have Spanish, Swedish. They are present in several countries across the world, in Europe and Middle East. They have Arabic content also. So what they do is they publish summaries of books for adults and books for children. So let's say Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In, now that summary is published by them in English. It's a 17-minute audio, roughly around 2,500, 3,000 words. And children's books are normally 500 words, 600 words, and the length of the audio is about 5 minutes. So because children don't have too much of an attention span, so they are more into summaries and children's books. So they have a very vast library of content, and they're launching in India. So I have done more than 15 children's stories for them. So so they have come up on the site. So once they launch in India, I think they'll become more popular. And I think it's a very interesting genre because we know people don't have time to read. So when they're driving or even while they're cooking or doing something, they can listen to these summary. If you like the summary, you can go ahead and buy the poem. And so it's very interesting, and let's see how the journey goes. It's just a month or two since I have started working for them, but it's very interesting. So I have done more of children's stories for them. Only I have done only one adult summary I've done. The rest are all children's books that I've done. So,
you really handle a lot of genres.
Yes,
novella, short stories, and these plays also.
Play I have done only one. And I had the experience of doing one a subtitling for a video series also. But other than that, I have done only one play.
So I mean, they're all sub parts of translation only, but still having. Do you need any research process? Does it go through it? Do you go through that research process?
Yes, I do. I mean, I try to understand, especially when it is a technical book and scientific book, like Yuddha Jivanche, or there was one more book that I was working on. And in there, you need to do a lot of research to know more about, it says, let's say they talk about some chemical bomb. So I need to, go and read about it more and understand better so that I can, translate better. And I cannot be factually wrong when it is a technical book or a scientific book. So I need to cross-check. Sometimes the names of the scientists का spelling कुछ लिखा होता है मराठी में, pronunciation कुछ होता है. You have to go to the net and find out what the exact, who the exact person is, the spelling and the background. So you need to be more careful if it's a book based on facts. Whereas if it is history or if it's a genre like fiction, it doesn't matter because it's a creative thing and you don't need to do too much research. But yes, even when it is mythology, like for example, when I was working on Krishna, Kajal has used a lot of shlokas from the Bhagavad Gita in the book. And so when she has written the translation or the vyakhya of the shloka in Gujarati. In Sanskrit to Gujarati is very easy because the vocabulary is a lot overlapping. But when I'm doing it in English, it has to be really apt and it can't be too long. Ki 2 line ka shlok mein 1 paragraph explain kar rahe. So I really had to go to the net, look at Speaking Tree, Bhagavad, a lot of these sites, and see which is the best translation for that shloka. So because I don't know that much Sanskrit, so I had to go find out, research, and say, okay, this is the best translation, shortest and the most appropriate translation, and then pick that up.
Correct, because you're carrying that responsibility.
So, these are the kind of research things that you need. I cannot, kind of play around because it is somebody else's content. The original work is somebody else's dream. So I need to work within that boundary and see how best I can do it without diluting the original impact. So that is a challenge, and that is what makes translating so interesting. Because you're trying to get into somebody else's head and see kya yahi keh rahe hain kya, and then get it onto paper. So that is a challenge, and it's really interesting.
Correct. And this is, I would like to know what inspires you to write or to translate.
I'm still waiting for my first book. So let me see whether I have a book, original book in me. I do hope, and I think I should and I will. But translation, like I said just now, it's that love for language that makes me do it, and the challenge, when you're doing, I'm doing this for about 6 hours a day, every day. I translate for 6 hours. So it's like a full-time job for me. And unless I'm interested in it and involved in it, I cannot do it on a day-to-day basis. So I really enjoy doing it. The challenge, it keeps me going. It keeps my intellectual juices flowing. and as a part of translation, I get to read so much. I get to learn. It's also a learning experience. Subconsciously you're picking up vocabulary, structure, language. You absorb so much about cultures, about people, psychology. You're going through the same emotions when you're translating. So sometimes I'm in tears also. I just stop and say, oh, it is so moving. And so it's a roller coaster kind of journey. So it's very interesting, and I think people should try it.
Yes. Please tell us about your upcoming translations. I think you mentioned a few, but
recently, I did. Yeah. So the one which is coming out, like I mentioned, the one which is the two are going to come out. One is Yuddha Jivanche by Girish Kuber, and it's a book on biological warfare, and that should come out sometime early next year. Another book that I'm doing is called Kar Har Maidan Fateh. It is a book by Vishwas Nangre Patil. He's the DSP of South Mumbai right now, and he has written this book. I can show it to you also.
Sure.
This one, I don't know whether it's visible. Kar Har Maidan Fateh. So this is his autobiographical account of how he, coming from a small village called Kokrud in Maharashtra near Kolhapur, that side, how he managed to crack the IAS exam, how he prepared for it, how he became an IPS officer, what he learned at the academy in Mussoorie and at the police academy in Hyderabad. And it's a very motivating and inspiring book for youngsters, people who come from modest backgrounds and they want to make it big in life. Ki aapko kaise mehnat karni padegi, aapka attitude kaisa hona chahiye, and what are the things that you look at. It's a very, very interesting and honest and sincere book. So that should come out again next year. My deadline is to finish it by end September. So these are the two which are the closest. And Tamil, yes, I'm working on the next novella by Shiva Shankari ma'am. That is based on surrogacy, surrogate motherhood. So story I'm working on next. So these are the three which I'm working on right now, parallelly.
Wow, great. You're handling a lot of variety of stories.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, that is interesting.
Yes.
I know now what inspires you.
Yes. Yeah. Many times it happens, morning pre-lunch is Tamil, post-lunch is, Marathi, and, evening is something.
My God, you're amazing.
So,
and
I need to tune out from one language and go into another.
Yes. Yeah. It's like you're changing clothes, you're changing your mindset for those languages, right?
So what I do is tune karne ke liye, if I have to start working in Tamil, I just make a call to my mom, talk to her for 5 minutes, chat in Tamil, and then come back. And I'm ready to think in Tamil.
That is great.
Yeah.
I would like to ask you, there are a lot of people learning a lot of languages nowadays. I mean, not only Indian, but also other than Indian. So what would be your advice to them?
See, any language learned never goes waste. I think it is something, it's something to be treasured, and it is an asset, because language is what exposes us to a different world. So whatever, whether it's an Indian language and foreign languages, with the world becoming global and everything available online, I think it will be a great asset if youngsters can pick up foreign languages, maybe Spanish or German or Chinese or Japanese. And a lot of these companies have started coming into India. They have their backend set up here. So I think there's a lot of professional scope for languages in the technical, in the IT field, also in manufacturing, and as well as, of course, in translation and interpretation. So I think it's a huge plus if somebody can learn foreign languages apart from knowing Indian languages. So that is something I couldn't do because I was doing so many things. But given a choice, and if I have the time, maybe I could pick up some foreign language as well. But right now I'm too tied up. So I think I don't have the luxury right now. But I keep telling my sons also, seek low, Spanish सीख लो, German सीख लो. It will be helpful.
Yeah, कौन से भी language हो, Indian हो या
Yeah,
अन्य
yeah.
कोई,
I mean,
will help you.
I am somewhere an example of, where what I learned in childhood from my grandmom, it's helping me today to
Yes,
do
yes.
Tamil translations. And I married a Marathi, and I picked up Marathi, and I am doing that translation as well. So nothing goes waste, and if you can just focus and value what you have, your experiences, I think they will come in handy sometime or the other in life. So I feel it's a huge plus.
That's an amazing message. Yes.
Yeah.
And tell us about your future plans.
Future plans, I look forward to start going doing again corporate training again, once things open up, so that I can, I love being in the classroom, and I've missed that one-on-one connection for almost 2 years now. Examinations also should start, I think, by next year, so I'm looking forward to that. But otherwise, it is translations that is going to be my which will continue, and these things will happen in between. So I look forward to doing more books, and in different so we keep exploring. I keep reading a lot of books to see what the next one should be. So I pick up something and read in Gujarati or Marathi or Tamil and see what the next one should be, what I should pick up. Because when you pitch to a publisher, you need to make the sample translation, you need to prepare a chapter, you need to create the synopsis of the book, chapter-wise summary, and you send it, and only then they say, okay, whether it is worth picking up or not. So it is time consuming for you to get a book to publish, because आपको बहुत पढ़ना पड़ता है. So to get one book, you need to read 10. उसमें से maybe one may click, and the publisher might say, okay, it is worth picking up, because as it is, the industry is stretched right now. People are not buying books, people are not going out, so publishing industry is taking a hit. So but I think things will pick up soon. People have started going out now and buying books, but so once things pick up, I think even that turnaround will start happening, and we will get more opportunities to do. But you need to read a lot. You need to keep your eyes and ears open. Think what book has got published, and and what is the kind of genre which people will like. So you keep talking to people, networking, and see क्या चल रहा है, लोगों से पूछिए. So and then you read it and see whether it works for you. It may be a great book, but I may not be able to relate to it. So you have to read a lot.
Like you said, you have to find your comfort zone. Finally,
absolutely.
You can work in it.
Yes.
Since you mentioned about reading, can you tell us your favorite authors in each language? I mean, Tamil, Gujarati. I mean,
Gujarati. I have not read much of Gujarati, honestly. I have read Kajal Ozawaitya's books, so I really love her work. Of course, Krishnan is one of her best, but she writes a lot of beautiful fictional novels, very interesting characters. So Kajal Oza, of course, and I've read a few books of Dhruv Bhatt. Marathi mein, I love Vijay Tendulkar's plays.
Oh yes,
I really like them. And even one of my favorite books is, of course, Mrityunjay. Though I didn't read it in Marathi, I read the Hindi translation, but it was excellent. I think it is one of the greatest books written. And Mrityunjay, of course, I have really liked. And my husband has translated about 12 books in Marathi, so I have read the English translations of them. And Swami and stuff like that. Tamil, I have read more of Shiva Shankari's books since childhood, and now I'm translating her. So, and a few others I have read. English, there are so many, Jeffrey Archer, and I like Dr. Wayne Dyer. He's my favorite author. He's a self-help kind of. He writes on philosophy and self-help. So I really love his work. I love Dr. Deepak Chopra's book. And now with YouTube coming in, I listen to a lot of TED Talks and Google Talks of good authors, like so I listen to a lot of lectures, because you don't have time to read so much, and you're tired by the end of the day, so you don't want to read more. So we listen to Harari's lectures or Daniel Kahneman, and so many. authors. Yeah, so
Yes.
that's something which is a huge boon right now. कि आप नहीं पढ़ने का time है तो सुन लो. So
Correct.
yeah,
There are a lot of options now, right?
yeah, and there's a lot of interesting content on all these OTT platforms also.
Yes,
So
certainly.
to watch all that. So Hindi mein to of course Premchand, he's my all-time favorite author. The new one author I like reading recently in Hindi is Nilotpal Mrinal. He wrote a book called Dark Horse, which was based on rural, the students, IAS aspirants who come to Delhi from UP, Eastern UP, Bihar से आते हैं, मुखर्जी नगर में रहते हैं. So it's about their journey. And he got the Yuva Sahitya Academy Puraskar also in 2016. So I got to meet him also personally, and that's a beautiful book he has written. He's come out with a few more books right now called Avghad. So I look forward to reading that. But he's also one Hindi author who's really coming up, and I'm looking forward to read more of his works. Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah.
That is great. So Subhaji, it was lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much, Lalita.
And thank you for sharing your valuable, things like you must read, what should the learners do. It was really helpful.
Yeah, and I think, we should be ready to fail. Try it. Unless we put pen to paper, you start doing it. We don't know whether we are good at something or not. So try it. हो गया तो ठीक है. नहीं तो you can say, okay, I gave it a shot. It didn't work. Let me try something else. But if you feel, I think the worst that can happen is, it will not get accepted. ठीक है. But, that's also a learning experience.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay. That was
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah. Thank you for sparing your time for us.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
I wish you all the best for your future.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Look forward to meeting you again soon.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.